Welcome back, everybody. My name is Trini and I am the Batquad. This is the channel where I go through my personal DVD collection from A through Z. Now, if you've been keeping up with this channel, I've been reviewing all the Batman movies from 1966 all the way up to 2022. And that's 12 Batman movies all in total. But I'm done reviewing them. I'm done going over each movie. This time I'm going to do something a little bit different and hopefully a little bit more fun. So in this video, we're going to rate everything from the movies, from the vehicles to partners to villains to Batman himself. So sit back, relax, and let's get through this video. To start off this list, I'm going to start with the biggest list that I have, and that's Batman's villains. There's, in the 12 movies, I've separated about 26 different villains that are actually in the movie. And I'm going to go from the bottom of the list to the top, to the number one. I'm going to give a non-honorable mention to Jared Leto. Now, he's not in any of these movies, but he's definitely the worst live action Joker I've ever seen. He's terrible. So he would not make this list at all, but I just thought I'd mention how bad he was. So starting off this list at number 26 is Marion Cotillard's Talia al Ghul. In the comics and in the animated series, she's a great character, but in this movie, she's completely wasted. She comes out at the end, almost like a secret bad guy that was behind the scenes the whole time, really being the puppet master for Bane, and it really brings Bane down the list as well. I just don't really care for her in this movie, and it's too bad because Talia is a great character. Number 25 for me is Jeep Swenson's Bane. He looks great, but he's in a crappy movie with crappy writing, and Bane is such a better character and actually was made better in the later movies, but for this movie here, he looks great, but wow, the writing, and it's basically not Bane at all. Number 24 for me is Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face. Now, I don't mind the Two-Face design. I think he looks okay. I do prefer the other Two-Face better. But in this movie, he's completely miscast. I think Tommy Lee Jones just didn't know what he was signing up for, and it shows. He basically tries to out-Joker the Joker, and like I said in the comic books and in the animated series, such a better character. And it's too bad that Two-Face is so far down the list because Tommy Lee Jones is a great actor, and it's just unfortunate that he's here at the bottom. Coming in at number 23 is Jim Carrey's Riddler. Now, in my review, I couldn't stand Jim Carrey. I didn't really like him as an actor. I felt like he was doing the same thing all the time. And in this movie, instead of making the Riddler his own character, he was basically redoing the 66 Riddler and really doing it poorly. I don't care for the acting in it. The movie's not that great either. He was constantly switching outfits, which is fine, but it just felt like excessive. I kind of liked the base Riddler outfit to begin with, and I wish they had stuck with that, because by the end, he's just so outlandish with his funky hair and everything else. Just a really bad character that could have been great, but Jim Carrey just really brought that whole character down. Okay, I'm going to get a lot of heat for this one, but coming in at number 22 is Tom Hardy's Bane. Now, I love Tom Hardy as an actor. I've seen him in plenty of movies. I think he's great. And honestly, the look of Bane is really pretty close to comic accurate. The only difference is in the comic books, he has a luchador mask. But man, for this movie, he has this weird thing over his mouth. You can't hear what he's saying. As it turns out, he's just a henchman for Talia. So in the grand scheme of things, I feel like he's basically a glorified thug in the movie, and that really brings his character down, and it's really too bad because had they just stuck with him as the main bad guy, I think he would have gone up in my rankings here, and especially if he could speak and I could actually hear him and understand what he was saying, he would actually go up as well. But for now, I think Bane is still towards the bottom of my list here at number 22. And at number 21 is the Lego Batman's Joker. Now, I don't really like the design. I don't like the pointy teeth. I kind of don't like his characterization in the movie. I know it's an animated movie. I'm not supposed to take it serious. But as you'll see later on, I do take the animated stuff seriously. And this one, I didn't feel like the voice acting was there. I think Zach Galifianakis, I mean, I've only seen him in a couple movies. I think he's okay. I think it was kind of stunt casting for this movie because I don't think he brought anything to the table for the Joker character. And that's why he's still towards the bottom of this list. Coming in at number 20 is Christopher Walken's Max Schreck. Now, I know he's not traditionally a Batman villain because he was made up for the movie, And in Batman Returns, they really didn't need him. They didn't need his character, and that's mostly why he's so low down the list, because Christopher Walken himself, he's a great actor. I like the energy he brought to the movie. But when you think about Batman Returns, he's actually the main antagonist of the movie. I just felt like he wasn't necessary. The Penguin and Catwoman were plenty for this movie to be the antagonist. And the addition of Max Schreck in this movie, it really kind of brings the movie down. I also really, because he's an original character, I have nothing to compare him to. I really don't like the character design. Christopher Walken looks much more like a vampire in this movie than a Batman villain. And that's why he's towards the bottom of the list. Okay, coming in at number 19 is Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy. Really, the only reason why I have her higher on the list is mostly because of the costuming. I think she looks great as Poison Ivy. Some of the outfits they put her in are really good. But the acting, Uma Thurman knew what kind of movie she was in, because with all the overacting that she was doing, she knew the assignment. And honestly, I can't fault her for that, because if they had made this movie a little bit more serious, I think she could have been a better Poison Ivy. But given what we have in the movie, I think she looks pretty good. The motivations of Poison Ivy herself, I think, are spot on for a Poison Ivy character. And for those reasons, I have her at number 19. At number 18 is Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze. Now, I love Arnold. I'm a big 80s kid. I've seen all of his movies. I was pretty excited when he was cast as Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin, but once I watched the movie, I couldn't believe what they were having him say, considering how much he was paid for it. I mean, really, he just robbed Warner Brothers blind. But when he's in costume, I think he looks great. I think it's a pretty good interpretation of Mr. Freeze's outfit. His motivations in the movie are pretty comic book accurate or animated series accurate. And he looks great. As soon as he opens his mouth, I can't stand anything that's coming out of it. And for that reason, he's not very high on the list. It's mostly because of costuming, and that's why he's at number 18. At number 17 is Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow. And more accurately, it's actually Cillian Murphy's Jonathan Crane, because he's barely in a Scarecrow persona in the movie, and that's why he's so low on this list. Because even though they saved him for the other movies, he shows up in Dark Knight and then also has a small cameo in Dark Knight Rises. I think that Scarecrow character has just not been given an opportunity in a movie to really be the bad guy. Here he's kind of like a side henchman. He's a little side story. And the stuff that he does do, I think it could have been a little bit more imaginative when people are under the influence of his toxin. But we're here in a Christopher Nolan movie, and of course they wanted to be a little bit more realistic. Really, he was using the flowers that I guess was given to him by Ra's al Ghul to make his fear toxin, but I like a Scarecrow that makes his own fear toxin. He doesn't need to be the henchman to somebody else. Jonathan Crane or Scarecrow, he's a good enough villain to really be the bad guy of his own movie, and I just didn't like the way he was sidelined here. I was pretty excited that he was in the movie, but really he was just in a suit with a sack over his head, and I think that it could have been a better looking costume, but Cillian Murphy's a great actor. I just think that he could have been a bigger part, and that's why he's kind of in the middle of my villains list. And at number 16 is Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face. Now, I love the design of his Two-Face. I think Aaron Eckhart's a great actor. His Harvey Dent was spot on. I was really into his storyline, and I was hoping that he would come back in a third movie to be maybe the primary antagonist, but in this movie they kind of did him dirty. I mean, he was Two-Face for maybe the last part of the movie, and then he gets killed off by Batman, which is really too bad because Two-Face is such a good, tragic villain, and ultimately, yes, it's tragic because he dies and lost the love of his life and everything else, and because of Joker, he turns into Two-Face. But honestly, he should have been there until the end, maybe to the end of the trilogy. But killing him off at the end is just, I don't know, I just have a real hard time with that. But the design of him and the acting from Aaron Eckhart, I think was pretty spot on. That's why Two-Face is at number 16. Coming in at number 15 is Frank Gorshin's The Riddler. Now, say what you will about his characterization here, but I think it's leaps and bounds better than Jim Carrey. Because in a way, Frank Gorshin made the Riddler his own character, and in the campiness of the 66 movie, I mean, it's spot on to what the comics were at the time. Even though there's been a couple different Riddler interpretations in movies, I think this one was the most comic accurate at the time. I like the outfit. I like when he's wearing the skin tight suit version of it, and then also when he's wearing the coat with the cap. Both outfits look great on him. I think he's a great actor. I think he's funny. I mean, I think he's a great Riddler. So that's why he's coming in at number 15. So that's why he's coming in at number 15. Coming in at number 14 is Lee Meriwether's Catwoman. Lee Meriwether, she very beautiful woman. I think she had won a beauty pageant of some sort. I can't remember what at this point. She looked great. She looks nice in the Catwoman outfit. Her little alter ego of Miss Kitka, I think in the story where she makes Bruce Wayne fall in love with her, I think that's very Catwoman-like in a way. But there's just something about her performance, and really because she's kind of filling in for Julie Newmar, which is too bad. I think Julie Newmar would have done better in this role for this movie. But I think she does okay. I think she looks great. I really don't have a whole lot to say about her character, which is too bad. But she definitely does a good job in the movie. I'm entertained by her. She's in it quite a bit. And that's why she's at number 14. Coming in at number 13 is Burgess Meredith's The Penguin. Now this Penguin was also from the 66 movie, and at the time was very extremely comic accurate. From his outfit to his walk and his waddle and the way he talks and with his cigarette and the monocle, all that stuff. I mean, it's very comic accurate to the time. I know it's campy, but that was the Penguin, and they were doing a spot-on impersonation of the Penguin from comics to film. So I can appreciate that they did that. I think he's a great looking Penguin. He sounds good. When you see the guy, you think Penguin. And I really like that in this character. Burgess Meredith was a longtime actor, and when he started doing the smoking, it irritated his throat, and that's why he got some of that coughing when he talks, when he's giving lines in the movie and on the TV series. Which, I mean, that's pretty good when you're giving yourself that much to a character. I think that's pretty awesome. So that's why I have Burgess Meredith's Penguin at number 13. At number 12, I have Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. I think she looks great in Dark Knight Rises. I like the way she looks. I like the outfit, the skin tightness of it, the little mask that has the eye goggles that kind of gives the impression of ears. So it kind of gives her a cat-like look. I do like the music that goes along with her whenever she comes on screen. I do like her Selena Kyle, how she's a little bit of a chameleon where she kind of changes the way she acts around people depending on the certain situations she might be in. I do like her, but my biggest issue with this Catwoman is that there's not a whole lot of chemistry between her and Bruce Wayne. It just kind of seems like in the movie they kind of get together because the writers made them get together. It didn't feel as organic. That's just too bad. And what can I say? Anne Hathaway, she's very pretty. She looked great in the costume. When she was doing her fighting scenes, I thought she looked pretty good. And that's why I have Anne Hathaway at number 12. And at number 11, I have Colin Farrell's Penguin. Now, the difference between this Penguin and Burgess Meredith's Penguin is that this guy is more comic accurate to current Penguin, where he's more of a crime boss and he's involved in the criminal underworld. And I do like that characterization of him. I think Colin Farrell, he loses himself in the character, and which makes him unrecognizable as the actor. I thought that he was good in the movie. He wasn't a major antagonist in the movie. He was kind of a side villain as well. But then when you watch, which, I mean, I shouldn't really use this as a comparison, but when you see the Penguin series, it really fleshes out his character that much better. And hopefully he'll be spotlighted a little bit more in the upcoming Batman sequels. But for now, Colin Farrell, for me, he lands at number 11. Now, cracking the top 10 of my villains list is Cesar Romero's Joker. Cesar Romero's Joker is the first Joker that I ever saw live action. I don't know, I just have nostalgia for that character. I know that there was a lot of noise about the fact that he never shaved his mustache and they had to put the makeup over his mustache. And when I was a kid, I could never tell, but now with high definition and everything else, I mean, you can't unsee the mustache. But outside of that, I think he's great as Joker. I love his outfit, the way he talks, the way he laughs, the maniacal way that he's acting. Of all of Batman villains from the 66 TV show and from this movie, he's definitely one of those people that if you saw on the street, you would definitely cross the street to get away from him because he is so creepy, and the way he talks and the way he acts, you definitely wouldn't want to be around that guy. And even though there's no real death going on, of all the villains, he looks like the one that would definitely kill somebody. and that is the perfect Joker. So that's why he's in at number 10. Coming in at number 9 is Paul Dano's Riddler from The Batman. This Riddler's different. It's a much different interpretation of the Riddler. Certainly not like Frank Gorshin's Riddler or Jim Carrey's Riddler. He did his own thing. And I know that's based off the writing and directing and costuming, but I think he looks menacing. I think he looks a little bit like the Zodiac Killer, which I think is by design. His plan is pretty good. He bumps off quite a lot of people throughout the movie. And at the end, with getting all his like private army to attack, setting off these explosions and drowning part of Gotham. I mean, he was a pretty successful villain, and he's one of the most successful villains out of all these movies. I think Paul Dano did a pretty good job of playing very quiet and then would just explode while he's talking to people. He's very fascinating to watch how he goes up and down. I think he does a really good job, and anytime he's actually on screen and he's talking, I'm totally enthralled with what he has to say. So that's why I have Paul Dano at number 9. All right, coming in at number 8 is Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman. So Zoe Kravitz in the movie, I mean, she's much less villainous than Lee Merriweather's character, and she's kind of on par with Anne Hathaway's character, where she kind of helps Batman out throughout the movie. But the biggest thing about her and Bruce Wayne in this movie, in The Batman, is they have a lot more chemistry. There's definitely an underlying attraction that's going on with them throughout the movie. So with their chemistry, her outfit, again, much like Anne Hathaway's character, from the neck down, I think the outfit looks pretty cool, but they're just not committing to the top. They're not giving her a more proper Catwoman mask or headpiece or something. They're still trying to keep it in the realism part. But I think as far as movies go, we're kind of past that, and I wish that they would commit a little bit more to her being a Catwoman-like character. But really, I liked her acting. I liked their chemistry. The outfit wasn't bad. I liked her motivations in this movie. And I really like how it ends with them ultimately being attracted to each other, but she's got to get out of town, and Batman, of course, he has to stay in Gotham. So I really liked her in this movie, and that's why she's at number 8. Coming in at number 7 on my villains list is Danny DeVito's Penguin. Now, I know I'm a big stickler with having the characters at least look or sound like what they look like in the comic books or in animated form. But in this movie, I think Danny DeVito, he just looks like the Penguin. And not necessarily comic book Penguin, but when you look at him, he just looks like a Penguin man come to life. And I really like that in this movie. Tim Burton did his own thing. Danny DeVito and the way he portrayed that character, it's so undeniably that there's something wrong with this guy, not just physically with his flippers and his nose and his teeth, but mentally as well. I like him. I really like him in this movie. I think... Ooh, Excuse me. I really like him in this movie. I think that he should have been the main antagonist for Batman Returns. I don't like that Max Schreck is basically being the puppet master. But in the end, I like the way he looked. I liked his characterization. I thought he was disgustingly funny, if that makes any sense. I wish that they hadn't killed him off, but that's what they were doing in all the early Batman movies. It's too bad we never got to see him again, but Danny DeVito is probably my favorite Penguin, and that's why he's so high on this list at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul from Batman Begins. Now, Liam Neeson, he's a high-caliber actor. I've really enjoyed that guy for a long time. So when he was cast as Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins, I like that idea. Even though in the comic books and in animated form, Ra's has a much more, Asian appearance to him. And they cast Liam Neeson, who I believe he's Scottish or Irish. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, I thought it was a strange casting, but watching him in the movie, I think he looks great. He acts great, of course, because he's Liam Neeson. My biggest complaint with the movie is that he wasn't Ra's al Ghul from the beginning. That they kind of did a bait and switch, and they make you think that they killed off Ra's al Ghul, but then he pops up at the end being the true Ra's al Ghul. It would have been just fine had he had been Ra's al Ghul from the whole thing. And as far as the movie goes, I do like his motivation for it. It's similar to the comic books enough. I think he did a really good Ra's, and that's why he's so high on the list. All right, I might get a little heat for this one, but coming in at number 5 is Jack Nicholson's Joker. So when Jack Nicholson was cast as the Joker in 1989's Batman, I mean, you couldn't have a better casting for the Joker. This guy has played unhinged characters through most of his career, and just that smile and those eyes. I mean, of course, that guy, I mean, he was Joker before he ever sat in the makeup chair. I think the look of the Joker is very comic book accurate. I think his costuming looked great. I like some of the stuff that he did, like the, I don't know, branding of Joker by making those bomber jackets for the bad guys. I liked his plan for Gotham City. He was going to gas everybody. Everything he did was very Joker-like in the movie, and I liked the way he looked, the way he sounded, but there are a couple things about him that kind of knocks him off a little pedestal for me, is some of the stuff that he said, and I know he's supposed to be insane, and he's not supposed to, if he makes a joke, maybe it doesn't make sense to the rest of us. When he cracks a joke, you should either laugh or laugh uncomfortably, but when he says things that I don't really get what he's saying, that's kind of weird, and it leaves a funny impression when you're actually watching the movie, because you want to be engaged, but it's one of those things where if somebody says something, it kind of takes you out of the movie. And that happens quite a few times whenever he's saying things. I don't know if it was meant to be funny or not, but it clearly wasn't, or at least to me it wasn't. And I also don't like the way he tries to hide himself with putting flesh-colored makeup on, because the Joker should just be the Joker all the time, unless for some reason he's trying to hide somewhere or something. But outside of that, he loves being the Joker. He loves being who he is. And I just couldn't imagine a Joker that hides himself with flesh-colored makeup. Although one of the more iconic scenes in Batman, when Vicky Vale throws water on his face and he's like, I'm melting, and under that is the white makeup of the Joker. That is an iconic scene, but I don't think it was worth it necessarily to put that flesh-colored makeup on just for that scene alone, because he does it a couple times throughout the movie, and I prefer my Joker to look like the Joker throughout the movie. But other than that, I think he's a great Joker, and that's why he's at number 5. Okay, coming in at number 4 is Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman from Batman Returns. I really love Michelle Pfeiffer in this movie. I think she does great as Catwoman, even though it's not comic accurate by any means. The spirit of the character is there. I love the outfit. They really committed to her looking like Catwoman. The musical motifs when she comes out and when she's doing her thing, there's everything to love about this Catwoman. Michelle Pfeiffer looks great. She already has cat eyes anyways. And her smile, I mean, she's the embodiment of Catwoman, even though the Batman Returns, you know, it's kind of a funky movie anyways, where she starts out as Selena Kyle, and she's kind of mousy and nerdy, but then as the movie goes on and then she gets killed and becomes resurrected as Catwoman, I like the way even in her Selena Kyle persona, she's just different now. Of course, I mean, she just was resurrected by cats, but she acts different. She's not sure who she is. And then I guess she feels better when she puts on the Catwoman outfit. And she just looks great. The movie actually commits to having Catwoman with her whip. I think she does great things with her whip. It's pretty cool when Michelle Pfeiffer, famously, she did all the whipping herself in those scenes when she's knocking the mannequins' heads off in the department store. I mean, she did a lot of awesome things. Apparently they had to vacuum seal her in her costume. I mean, she really committed to the role, and it shows. The chemistry between Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton, it really comes off the screen. It probably helps that they were romantically involved before this movie, a few years before it. But it shows like an attraction between the two. I mean, they have so many good scenes in the movie. There's the ballroom scene where they're dancing under the mistletoe, when they're fighting on the rooftops. And then, you know, the final scene where he's trying to convince her that, hey, that they're the same, and he rips off his mask. Michelle Pfeiffer does a great job in this movie. She is the best cinematic Catwoman as far as I'm concerned. And that's why she's so high on my list at number 4. All right. Coming in at number 3 for my villains list is Mark Hamill's Joker from Mask of the Phantasm. I know it's animated, and I poo-pooed the animated Joker version from before from Lego, but that was much more of a comedic version of him. In this movie and in this animated universe that Mask of the Phantasm is from, the Joker, even though he's a clown, he's still very menacing. And in this movie in particular, he actually kills people. And there's a menace behind his voice and the way he looks, the way he's drawn. I do like the animated version that they show in this movie, but in that animated universe, they do actually perfect him later on in the Justice League cartoons. but this was his original animated look. The first time I heard Mark Hamill be the Joker, and I read comic books afterwards, I always heard his voice in my head when I was reading the dialogue. And I imagine that if I were to crack open a comic book right now, it'd still feel the same way. I think it's a definitive Joker. They've had other Jokers do Joker voices in other animated movies, and it just doesn't feel the same. This was perfect voice casting for this character, and that's why he's at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is Dana Delaney as the Phantasm from Mask of the Phantasm. So I know she doesn't actually do the voice for the Phantasm, but right here we're talking about the character of Phantasm and everything he represents. It's basically the ghost of Batman's past coming to the present, and that's what he looks like. He looks like death. And considering how he does bump off a few people in the movie, and I keep saying he because that's kind of what he's supposed to be, and it really throws you off later on that he is a she. But the Phantasm in this movie, I like the design. It's very simple. It looks a little bit like some of the comic Reapers that were drawn in the comic books back in the 70s and 80s. So it has some of that design with it. I think it's a great character, especially as an original character for an animated movie. They just did so well with it, and the fact that it actually is Batman's lover, it's under the mask, it just elevates the character. I don't know, I think they did so good in this movie, and it really, from the first time watching it, it really throws you for a loop because you wouldn't think that she's actually the bad guy, but this is one of those movies where at the Scooby-Doo reveal, when you rip off the mask and you realize who the actual bad guy is, when they do that in this movie, it's actually heartbreaking because you realize that Batman, at that point, Batman and Andrea, they're never going to be able to be together after what happened. And it's really sad in the context of the movie. And that's why I have Phantasm so high up the list, even though it's an original character, it's an animated character, but they just did that good in this movie. That's why he's number 2. And now coming in number 1 for the best villain in the theatrical history of Batman is, of course, Heath Ledger's Joker. Now, Heath Ledger, like I've said before, he's only in the movie maybe 15, 20 minutes or so. But every time he's on camera, you just can't stop looking at the guy. He looks amazing as Joker. He is basically what the Joker would look like in real life. He definitely would make you want to run across the street if you saw him. He's so creepy and disgusting, and you can almost smell him off the screen because there's something just really dirty about this guy. His plans for Batman, his plans for Gotham City are all very comic book accurate, very spot on. I really loved his character in this movie, and it's so tragic that Heath Ledger died and they couldn't go on and put him in a third movie because I would have really liked to have seen what he could have done, I don't know, behind bars or if he had broken out or whatever. He won an Oscar for this movie as Best Supporting Actor, posthumous, of course. I mean, it looked great. He acted great. He was a perfect foil for Batman. And he was really a perfect interpretation of Joker from comics to screen. So of all the Batman movies that were released theatrically, that's why Heath Ledger is my number 1 Joker and my number 1 villain of all time.
So all that was just the villain?
That was all just the villains.
Now we have to do cars and...
Shh. Okay, so that was my overall villains list, but let's go into my list of my favorite live action, or not live action, but theatrically released Batman movies. Who were my favorite love interests for Bruce Wayne Batman? So in this list, I have a list of 13. Let's go through them, but let me give an honorable mention to Poison Ivy. So Poison Ivy, she wasn't really a love interest in Batman and Robin. I know that she had used her chemical pheromones to kind of get Batman to think about her and have Batman and Robin kind of fight it out over her. So I love Poison Ivy, but in this list, in these movies, I don't think she's actually a true love interest. That's why she's not really on this list. So coming in at 13 is Barbara Gordon, played by Rosario Dawson from the Lego Batman movie. Now, I know that they didn't really get together or anything like that, but definitely Bruce Wayne is interested in her, and he kind of throws himself at her a couple times in the movie, and she's very much standoffish from him, which I like because I really don't like Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, to be involved with Bruce Wayne Batman. He was definitely trying, and there's no real chemistry there, which I'm happy about. So that's why she's at the bottom. She's number 13 on this list. And number 12 is Julie Madison, played by Elle Macpherson in Batman and Robin. Julie Madison, I believe, is Bruce Wayne, Batman's first girlfriend in the comic books. And since then, she really hasn't been a part of Batman continuity. But they brought her back for this movie, and she's played by a supermodel, a very famous supermodel at the time. But she's not a great actress. There's no chemistry between her and George Clooney. And I just remember there's this one scene where she's like, are we going to get married or are we going to get engaged? Or she says something like that to Clooney, and he's just like, he kind of blows her off. It's really sad that they even had a love interest in this movie, because this movie was so overstuffed with characters. They really didn't need anybody to be Bruce's love interest in this movie. So anyway, for no chemistry, not a great actress. She looks pretty, but that's why she's at number 12. Coming in at number 11 is Marion Cotillard. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, as Talia al Ghul. Again, with the no chemistry between the two, she kind of comes out of left field. She's part of Wayne Enterprises, board or something. And then she somehow becomes a confidant with Bruce Wayne. I'm surprised that he didn't just come out and say that he was Batman to her. They have this love scene that comes out of nowhere. And then at the end, she winds up being Talia al Ghul. Was playing Bruce Wayne for a fool anyways. I didn't feel their chemistry at all. I didn't think that they were a good fit. I think she's a great actress. I've seen her in a lot of things. But I think she was miscast for this part. Unfortunately, it has to go more to the writing than anything else, because I think the actors are doing the best with with material that they've been given. But that material, when it's no good and you have great actors, there's just no spark, no chemistry. So that's why she's so low on this list. Coming in at number 10 is Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel Dawes from The Dark Knight. Again, I think Maggie Gyllenhaal, I think she's a great actress. I think that she had great chemistry with Harvey Dent. But as a love interest for Bruce Wayne, I think she fails on all levels, because she doesn't love Bruce Wayne. She loves Harvey Dent. And Bruce Wayne is just chasing after her, trying to, make a relationship or have a relationship with her when she's clearly moved on from him. And so that's why I think that, they're great actors. I think they work better as a friendship. They should have just stayed as friends instead of Bruce trying to get something going with her. I think that's why it brings it so far down, because really, Bruce just seems very pathetic chasing after Rachel Dawes in this movie. So that's why she's so low in this list at number 10. Coming in at number 9 is Vicky Vale, played by Kim Basinger from Batman 89. So Kim Basinger, at this point in the late 80s, early 90s, she was everywhere at that time, and it seemed logical to put her in this movie. I think she looks great, even though in the comic books, Vicky Vale's a redhead. She's a blonde here, but tomato. In the movie, I know she's a photojournalist. She's trying to take pictures of Batman, trying to figure out who Bruce Wayne is and try to get to know him a little bit better. She goes out with him on a date. She gets a little drunk. She sleeps with the guy. One drunken night with him, she falls in love with Bruce Wayne. And for some reason, Bruce Wayne falls in love with her. I just felt like their love story kind of came out of nowhere. It didn't feel very organic. I think the two actors have chemistry with each other, but I just don't believe the love story in this one the way I do in Batman Returns between Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer. That felt much more natural. This felt a little bit more forced. And that whole conversation they have when Alfred lets Vicky into the Batcave and, are we going to try and love each other? It's so cheesy, the dialogue. I don't believe them as a couple. And that's why Kim Basinger is at number 9. All right, so coming in at number 8 is Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. Now, again, I think she looks great in the outfit. I think in the story-wise, I think she does great as Catwoman. But as far as a love interest goes, it seemed to me that you have the Bruce Wayne character who I think gets a little turned on by her, and that's why he comes out of retirement, trying to figure out why she's stealing his fingerprints and everything else. While trying to figure that out, maybe he gets a little curious about her. But there's nothing in the movie to indicate that he really has feelings for her. And the same thing goes for Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. Nothing in the movie suggests that Selina likes Bruce Wayne other than the fact that at the end of the movie, she feels the need to kiss him. And then they wind up together at the end, at some cafe in Paris or something. Throughout the movie, I think she has a crisis of conscience. She feels bad for causing what happens to Gotham City, but that doesn't exactly translate to having feelings for Bruce Wayne. Now, I know she feels bad that she kind of set him up and Bane broke his back and everything else. And she's a little bit shocked when he comes back because she wasn't expecting that. She thought he was gone forever. But even then, in their little reunion, it's not like she couldn't wait to see him and, jumped in his arms or anything like that. They were still very standoffish. So I didn't understand why at the end, all of a sudden, they felt the need to put them together writing-wise. Because throughout the movie, it's not like they were, into each other at all. So even though they're both great actors again, but I think the writing kind of let them down. And they only wind up together at the end because the writing says so. It didn't happen organically. So that's why I have Anne Hathaway at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is Rachel Dawes, played by Katie Holmes in Batman Begins. So even though Katie Holmes and Maggie Gyllenhaal are playing the same character in 2 different movies, they do feel very different from one another. Because in Batman Begins, Katie Holmes' character, she's very spunky. She wants to be a good DA. She wants to be a good friend to Bruce Wayne. She appeals to his side to give more to Gotham City. She's pissed off at him when he confesses to her that he wanted to kill Joe Chill. She's a great friend. When they kind of grew up together, it's kind of cute because if you had 2 characters that grew up together that had crushes on each other, and as they become adults, they actually start dating or whatever. But in this movie, that just doesn't happen. They kind of end the movie with them almost deciding to be friends, which is fine. As we get into The Dark Knight, Bruce just can't let it go. But in this movie, it seemed like there could have been a chance for them to have some sort of relationship with each other. And I think they had pretty good chemistry with each other. Even though Rachel Dawes is an original character to the movies, I think that she worked just as well as another character that would come from the comic books. I think they had good chemistry. I think Katie Holmes did a pretty good job considering the role she was given. And I wish that she had gone on to Dark Knight, but they killed her off anyway, so what does it matter? And that's why I have Katie Holmes at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is Lee Merriweather from the Batman 66 movie. So in this movie, she winds up playing another character called Miss Kitka. So she's undercover Catwoman trying to get Bruce Wayne to fall in love with her and to set him up so they could steal stuff from him or whatever. Anyway, silly movie. But the thing is that when they're together, her and Bruce Wayne, they actually go on a few dates. She kind of leads him on. He's falling for it. He's totally lovesick for her. He's head over heels for this Miss Kitka girl. And I buy it. I mean, even though it's silly, it's a comedy movie or whatever, I buy it because I think they have pretty good chemistry with each other. Not the same kind of chemistry that Adam West had with Julie Newmar, but I think it was pretty close here in this movie. The thing about it is the believability of it. Even though it's ridiculous, I do like seeing them together. And I wish that she would have gone maybe a little bit higher in the list, is if for some reason she decided that she did have feelings for Bruce Wayne, and maybe as Catwoman, maybe had feelings for Batman, and maybe would have turned on the other bad guys at the end of the movie. But at the end, he realized she's totally playing him for a sucker, and he totally fell for it. And, hey, look, I got to give her props as a cat being elusive. That's part of their charm. And what can I say? He fell for it. So that's why she's much higher on this list at number 6. So coming in at number 5 for my favorite Batman love interest is Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman in BVS. Now, I know they never really get together. They never even kiss or anything like that in this movie. But there's a hint of attraction between the two of them that is just right under the surface, and they kind of go into it a little bit more in the Justice League movies. But I think their chemistry together, it's palpable, it's there. And maybe I'm a sucker for Batman and Wonder Woman getting together because I always consider myself Batman and my wife as Wonder Woman because that's her favorite character, especially Linda Carter version. Even in the Justice League cartoon, there's a hint of a relationship there. And during that time in the comic books, they had kind of teased a Wonder Woman-Batman relationship. So I've always been a sucker for it, and it was definitely prevalent in BVS. There's definitely something going on between them. There's just that underlying attraction that they have for each other. And it's never quite defined in the movies, but I definitely consider it a little bit of a love interest, and that's why she scores so high based on chemistry alone. So that's why I have Gal Gadot at number 5. Coming in at number 4 for love interest for Batman is Zoe Kravitz in The Batman. Her Catwoman and Batman, they have an undeniable attraction to each other. I really like the way they are on screen together. I really like why they get together, why they feel like they need each other. And at the very end, when they go their separate ways, I can understand. But even though they go their separate ways, they can't help thinking about each other. And one of the last shots of the movie is him looking through the side view mirror of his motorcycle, watching her drive away and wondering, should I go with her, or is that a path I should explore, having this relationship with this girl. And I think that's great because it opens it up to future endeavors in future movies, whether it be in part 2 or part 3 or whatever. And I really hope that Zoe Kravitz comes back as Catwoman and they explore their relationship a little bit better. But I thought they looked and did great on screen, and that's why I have her at number 4. All right, coming in at number 3 is Nicole Kidman from Batman Forever. Nicole Kidman was playing an original character named Dr. Chase Meridian. I think that she would have been a perfect Poison Ivy, but, hey, whatever. She was an original character. I thought her and Val Kilmer had great chemistry together. Even though the movie's silly, at least their relationship is taken seriously. I like that she likes Bruce Wayne, but is really lusting after Batman. And when she realizes that the two are the same, she kind of falls in love with both of them. And Val Kilmer, as Bruce Wayne, as Batman, has feelings for her right away because she's hot and she's smart and she's capable of taking care of herself. I wish the two actors were in a better Batman movie, but considering what we got, I think that they had a good chemistry together. I liked her character, and I wish we had more in Batman and Robin instead of what we got. So Nicole Kidman was at the top of her game at that time. She looked great, she acted great, and I think she was a great love interest for Val Kilmer's Batman in Batman Forever, and that's why she's at number 3. All right, coming in at number 2 as my favorite love interest for Batman is Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Of course, she's number 2. I think their chemistry, on-screen chemistry together is just amazing. Like I said, I think it helps that they used to date prior to the movie, and Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer they're just on fire when they're on screen. They look great in costume and out of costume. I think she's the best Catwoman. When they're together, when they're talking, it's you believe that they're into each other. You believe their attraction for each other. At the end, you kind of want them to be together. So when it comes down to it, especially as a comic book lover, usually Batman and Catwoman are the two that are supposed to be together. In this movie, Batman Returns, that is the feeling that I get, that these two characters, these two people should be together. Even though they wind up not being together at the end of the movie, they totally should have been, but the fates wouldn't let it happen. And too bad Michelle Pfeiffer did get her own Catwoman movie, because I think she would have been great in that too. So for all of those reasons, my second favorite love interest for Batman is Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman from Batman Returns. But a special honorable mention to Julie Newmar, who for me is definitely the best Catwoman, but she wasn't in any of these movies, which is too bad because she'd probably be in my number 1. But just an honorable mention for her. I love me some Julie Newmar. She was great as Catwoman. So of course that leaves my number 1 love interest for Batman in these movies is Andrea Beaumont, played by Dana Delaney in Mask of the Phantasm. What can I say? This animated movie is amazing. They have the best on-screen chemistry between Dana and Kevin Conroy. Their voice acting together is perfect. Their relationship, their backstory, that they meet and they kind of find common ground with each other because their parents passing. The fact that Bruce considers leaving being Batman because he falls so in love with Andrea, and then how tragically they get torn apart, and then later on she winds up being the bad guy in the movie. It's such a great, tragic Shakespearean experience watching these two that are totally made for each other, and then they'll never be together because of the circumstances of the movie. And I think that's great storytelling. That's great voice acting. They do amazing, and I can watch their relationship over and over, way more than some of these movies, and that's why I have Andrea Beaumont as my number 1 love interest for Batman in these theatrically released Batman movies.